The jurors rejoin us. Mr. Shapiro.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'd like permission to address the court regarding appropriate sanctions for conduct that took place last Thursday. May I do that? Your Honor, we suggest stringent sanctions be imposed for the unprofessional conduct that arose at the end of our session on Thursday. The reason that we think the sanctions should be severe is this is not an isolated incident, but it is becoming a continued course of conduct. And it seems to happen at about the same time and with the same frequency at the end of the court week. The court, I'm sure, will recall last week we ended with testimony about a plastic bag in the back of the Bronco. And the jury was left with the impression over the weekend that there was something sinister to having this. They then started the session on Monday by pointing out themselves that this was standard equipment that was used only for the spare tire on the truck. The conduct was wanton and willful, in my opinion, on Thursday when a bad faith question was proposed. First, by way of history, the court twice that day had to admonish counsel for conduct that was in violation of the court's regulations the prior week. And then there was a sidebar where there was a specific admonition by the court not to bring up a certain incident regarding Michelle Obderon and the fact that Nicole Simpson slapped her. Then finally, a question was asked about a 1989 incident. I have reviewed extensively all the materials regarding Mr. Kalin, and not once in any questions that have been brought up by counsel for either side or any investigator were any questions asked regarding his knowledge of a 1989 incident or anything that was alluded to by counsel by way of redirect examination. Giving the jury the impression that Mr. Kalin was aware of an incident in 1989 is bad enough, but actually saying that he knew of this incident when counsel well knew that there was no relationship between Mr. Kalin, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Mr. O.J. Simpson until 1992. And then highlighting in a loud tone of voice what was presumed to be a fact, that Michelle opened the door to allow a beating in 1989 is a serious transgression. We believe the jury should be made aware of the seriousness of this transgression, and we would suggest a sanction that would allow the jury to consider why the prosecutor in this case would act in such an unprofessional manner and what motivation they would have to bring forth to the attention of the jury for the weekend a fact that they know could not and should not have been brought to their attention. We believe there is ample evidence within the record of past conduct as well as a continued course of conduct on Thursday to warrant these sanctions. And we would urge the court to direct the jury's attention to this.
Do you have any proposed language for an instruction?
Your Honor, I will write some out, but I would say that suggest to the jury the following, that at the end of the session on Thursday, counsel for the prosecution engaged in misconduct before this court. The court has sanctioned the prosecutor for that misconduct, and the jury is not only to disregard any suggestions made by the prosecutor in asking the question, but may also consider the motivation for the prosecutor in deliberately engaging in unprofessional conduct.
All right, thank you, counsel. People wish to be heard.
Yes, Your Honor, briefly. First of all, Your Honor, I'm here before the court this morning to admit my culpability in all of this. It was I who handed Ms. Clark a question on a piece of paper, asking her to ask Mr. Kalin if he had knowledge of the fact that Michelle Abduran, the maid back in 1989, had opened the door to her quarters, allowing the defendant access to the room and allowing him access to Nicole on January 1, 1989. We have evidence and information from a witness that we have interviewed, that I've interviewed personally, who claims that Michelle Abduran told her that this is what occurred. Mr. Shapiro asked Mr. Kalin on numerous occasions questions regarding the defendant's relationship with Nicole Brown. He asked him many questions, which we consider to be questions going to Mr. Simpson's character, and we brought that issue up before the court. In my view at the time, the defendant's character was fair game, and I handed the question to Ms. Clark. Usually when I hand Ms. Clark a question, it's a good question. And I don't think she should be held accountable for having asked a question in light of the fact that I handed it to her, in light of the fact that I asked her to ask the question of the witness, and also because I am the person who is responsible for knowing everything there is to know about domestic violence and the defendant's relationship with the victim, Nicole Brown. I reviewed the transcript over the weekend. I noted the question that Mr. Shapiro asked Mr. Kalin. I noted our objection. I had forgotten the other day about the court's ruling that it was irrelevant when I handed her the question. Also, by the way, I just thought it was fair character evidence, or a fair issue of character evidence at the time when I asked the question. I don't think any prejudice has accrued to the defendant. The jury has heard a lot about their past relationship, their past violent relationship, that he called her names, that he used profanities, that he said he might be pathologically jealous. The jury has heard the 1993 tape. I think the jury has a fair some indication as to the true nature of their relationship. I can't see how he might be prejudiced. I expect that at some point during this trial that the jury is going to hear from Michelle Abduran, and I expect that she is going to testify to having opened that door and to the defendant having dragged the witness out of the room.
Well, Mr. Dart, let me ask you this, though. What basis do we have, or did we have, to ask the question regarding Michelle Abduran with Mr. Kalin, given the fact that Mr. Kalin was not acquainted with any of the parties here until late 1992?
Character evidence, Your Honor. Is he aware? Does he know? He has testified to the defendant's good character. Character is an issue now. We felt that we had the right to ask him if he knew of things relating to his bad character.
But the question was couched in this manner.
Sorry, Your Honor.
The question was couched in this manner. Was Mr. Kalin aware did he recall that Michelle was the one who opened the door to let the defendant into the room to beat Nicole in 1989? That hardly is couched as a reputation question.
Okay. Well, that was my view. It was my view that it was character evidence, a character evidence-related question. Ms. Clark phrased it in the manner that she did. Obviously, she took the piece of paper from me and asked the question a moment later, relying on my implied representation that the question was appropriate. What else can I say?
Was there any indication that Mr. Kalin was going to answer this question in the affirmative, that he was aware of this incident?
I know that Mr. Kalin had a very, very close relationship with Nicole Brown. This information is commonly known to people who knew her and who knew of the 1989 incident. Questions were asked about their relationship or about his knowledge of their relationship over our objection on many occasions. So whether he was aware of that, I don't know. I don't know. But the jury will hear this evidence unless the court precludes it. I mean, it's going to come out.
As to the 89 incident?
As to the 89 incident.
All right, do you have any comment as to Mr. Shapiro's request that I admonish the jury that question, that there was no good faith basis for that question to be asked, and that it was not appropriate for you to ask that question, or for Ms. Clark to ask that question?
Well, I think that many questions have been proffered by the defense to witnesses in bad faith. Throughout this trial, witnesses have testified to incidents where they were not present. They have testified on issues where they had neither the knowledge or the training, or otherwise I felt incompetent to testify on those issues. The court has on many occasions, since Mr. Shapiro began his cross-examination of Detective Van Adder, advised the jury to disregard the implications of certain questions. Okay. And I think as well that the defense has a history.
As I did with this last question.
As you did with this last question just the other day. All of us, I think, sometimes we're in the attack mode and we attack. This is a trial. There was nothing malicious behind our asking of the question. I assume that when Mr. Shapiro asked the many questions that he asked of witnesses, in which the court had to admonish the jury to disregard the answer or the implication of the question, I assume that he didn't act maliciously either. I don't think sanctions are appropriate at this point. The court admonished the jury, and I think the admonition was fairly strong. I think we should just proceed on with the trial. Hopefully it won't happen again.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Darden. Mr. Shapiro, any response?
If I can just add one other thing. I would just like to point out to the court and for the record as well that on many occasions the defense proffered questions to witnesses on issues or matters that they know that only the defendant can testify to. Okay. And we've objected, and the court has admonished the jury, and the court has sustained some of those objections. But as the court may recall, there were instances where there were a series of questions, 4 to 5 at a time, where the court found the questions inappropriate.
Right.
So.
But this was rather a broad this is just this question, though, was out of the blue.
Well, it's my question. So when you say it's out of the blue, perhaps it was out of the blue. I'm here to do more than just die on my sword for Ms. Clark and for the prosecution.
Expression.
I asked the question,
fall on
Judge.
my sword.
Pardon?
Fall on my sword.
Oh, well, I want to fall and die on it and go somewhere else. But it's my fault. I thought it was an appropriate character evidence question. They continue to ask these questions of these witnesses that go to character, and I can assure the court that I have evidence of bad character, and now I have more, and we're going to be approaching the court asking permission to present a few days of bad character evidence. In this
Thank
case.
you, counsel. Any brief response, Mr. Shapiro?
Your Honor, I don't think the issue is who's at fault. I think the issue is the damage that was done and the lack of professionalism in presenting it. Further, I think the court can easily find the pattern of conduct over the last 3 weeks at the end of Friday's sessions. One session we ended with questions regarding whether or not Mr. Simpson suffered a cut on his knuckle. The people are well aware that evidence will be presented to show that that cut took place in Chicago, and that the investigators were aware of it, and that there was evidence of that by Mr. Simpson getting a Band-Aid from the clerk when he checked out, by having a broken glass in the bathroom, and having blood on a towel and on a sheet in the room in which he was staying. I had already pointed out the problem with the Bronco, which any minor investigation, any simple question would point out this is standard equipment and wasn't, as the people had wanted the jury to find, something that was premeditated to go and have a bag to bury a body, which was the spin for the weekend that was put out. And then we have this conduct that comes again right at the end of the court session. That is something that has never been brought out. This is a witness who has probably been interviewed by the prosecution as much or more than any other witness in the case. This is somebody they view as an essential witness. This is somebody that they voiced displeasure with in their questions and tried to impeach based on credibility. And this was a question that was asked in a malicious way.
Well, Mr. Shapiro, let me ask you this. Assuming that I'm willing to tell the jury that the question was not appropriate, is that really what you want me to do? Because if you recollect from the transcript of our proceedings Thursday afternoon, I told them that the question was not appropriate. I, in fact, told them that the record, which at this point is undisputed, was that Mr. Kalin did not have any personal knowledge of any of these individuals until late 1992, and that it was impossible for him to have an answer to that question. And I told the jury that the question was inappropriate. Now, if I am to admonish them again, as per your request, it's to highlight the question and answer again. Is that what you want me to do?
That is not our purpose nor the intention that we are seeking.
No, I mean, but that's going to be the effect that I'm...
Not necessarily. What we're concerned with is our team has been sanctioned twice for conduct that did not take place in front of the jury. And the jury has been told that we were sanctioned. And those sanctions were very stern and very onerous.
No. Jury has not been told about those things.
My recollection is the jury was told that the conduct of counsel was wrong.
That's with regards to the opening statement issue.
Yes. And
the Rosa Lopez matters are if and when Rosa Lopez is brought to testify.
And if that happens, then they will also be made aware, and our client will suffer as a result. We believe this jury should know that sanctions have been imposed on the prosecution, that this was not like any other question that was asked, that this was in fact a bad faith question, and that the jury should consider the motivation of the person asking such a question. Yes, we want that done.
All right. Thank you, counsel. All right, let's have the jurors, please. Let the record reflect we have now been rejoined by all the members of our jury panel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. When we were in session last Thursday, a question was posed to Mr. Kalin at the end of our session regarding an incident in 1989. That incident you have heard some testimony about already. And as I indicated to you, the question and answer to Mr. Kalin that closed the session was with regards to Mr. Kalin's knowledge regarding that 1989 incident. And as we know, Mr. Kalin had no contact with any of these people prior to late 1992, and thus had no way of knowing anything personally about those incidents. In propounding questions to witnesses, counsel must have a good faith belief that that witness has competent evidence to offer with regards to that subject matter. And as I indicated to you, I sustained the objection to that question to Mr. Kalin because I felt there was a lack of a good faith belief that Mr. Kalin would have good information, competent information with regard to that issue, and I found the question to be inappropriate. Oftentimes, you will note that I sustain objections to questions, and I occasionally instruct you that you should only consider the question for the meaning that it gives to the answer, and you should not assume to be true any implication that is suggested by the question, and that applies to this particular question and answer as well. All right, Ms. Clark, you may resume. Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Kalin, good morning.
Good morning.
You're reminded you're still under oath. Ms. Clark, you may resume with your direct examination. Excuse me, redirect.
Thank you. Good morning. Now, Mr. Kalin, you lived in the Rockingham location from January of 1994 until June of 1994. Is that correct?
Yes.
And who was living in the house at that time when you were living there?
On Rockingham, OJ and Arnell, myself and Gigi, off and on.
And when Gigi was not there, who else was there?
Who would visit?
No, who was the maid?
Before that was Michelle.
Okay, and were you living there when she was living there?
Yes.
Did you interact with her on a daily basis?
If I would see her, yeah. Pretty much. She'd be there every day and I'd see her.
And did you discuss with her her relationship with Nicole?
Sustained.
Did you see Nicole when she would come to visit Rockingham?
Sometimes, yes.
Did you speak to Michelle?
Yes.
And did you speak to Nicole?
Yes.
And I believe you earlier testified that you were aware that there was a situation where Nicole and Michelle would not be at Rockingham at the same time?
Yes.
And were you aware of the reason for that?
They didn't like each other.
And did you ever see them at Rockingham together at the same time?
In the house at the same time, but not in the same area.
Okay. And how did you become aware of the fact that they did not like each other?
Sustained.
Did you speak to Michelle about it?
She would bring things up.
About Nicole?
Yes.
Did Nicole bring up things about Michelle?
Sustained.
All right, you indicated that you thought Nicole and O.J. got along well when you were discussing this matter with Mr. Shapiro on examination. Is that right?
Off and on, yes.
But you also testified that you did not know what O.J. did from day to day. Is that right?
Yes.
You also testified that you didn't know where the defendant went and what he did on a day-to-day basis. Is that right?
Yes.
Yet you testified to the nature of the relationship of the defendant and Nicole.
Sustained.
On what do you base your opinion of the relationship of the defendant and Nicole if you did not see him or her on a daily basis?
Oh, well. Do you understand the question, sir?
No.
Rephrase the question.
If you could say it again.
You stated an opinion that the defendant and Nicole had a good relationship for the time that you knew them. Do you recall that?
Yes.
You also testified that you did not see the defendant on a daily basis. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
You also testified you did not see Nicole from January to June on a daily basis. Is that correct?
Correct.
On what do you base your opinion of their relationship if you saw neither one of them on a daily basis?
Well, on a daily basis, I would not see them. I'm going on when I did see, at times when I did see it.
From
It was-
January to June of 1994, how many times did you see them together?
January to June. Six or seven?
6 or 7 times in 6 months.
Yes.
And on that, you base your opinion of their relationship.
Sustained.
Is that what you base your opinion of their relationship on?
Yes.
And what were those 6 to 7 occasions? Where did they occur?
At both places, both residences.
At Bundy?
Bundy, mostly at Rockingham.
How many times at Bundy?
Twice.
And what were you doing at Bundy at that time?
I was doing something for the kids. I don't remember what. Watching a movie or something like that.
Did the defendant bring you with him to Bundy to watch the children?
No.
Then how did you get to Bundy?
I drove.
You drove over there?
Yes.
Was that at Nicole's request?
No, I don't think it was her request. I just showed up,
You invited yourself?
I guess.
And when did that occur?
Like probably 4 months before.
Like in
So-
February of '94?
Yeah.
Didn't you earlier testify, sir, that you and Nicole, your relationship went through a major change after you moved into Rockingham,
Yes.
and that you were no longer friendly? You remember testifying to that?
I was friendly.
But she was not.
Oh,
Probably not as friendly as before. Yes.
Yes, don't you recall testifying that she told you she felt you'd been manipulated by the defendant?
Yes.
And so the last time you visited her house was February?
I think so.
Did she ask you not to come by anymore?
I don't remember her saying that.
But you didn't.
I didn't go by, no.
And after that time, did you call her ever?
Yeah, a few times.
When?
The date I don't know, but after February.
When
Probably
was-
in March.
Did you ever call her again after March?
There was some event that was held at the house for the Sunshine School, and I think she called me, and then she came over, and I don't know what the date was, but it was after March, where I was putting up the chairs or something for the event.
And that related to the event, did it not?
Yes.
So you were no longer calling each other as friends after when? After what point?
sustained.
At some point, did you stop calling each other on a friendly basis?
Yes.
And when was that?
I'd say beginning of March.
Did Nicole tell you that she had felt betrayed by you for moving in with O.J.?
No, it was she said I was manipulated.
Were you working between January and June of 1994?
Yes.
As what?
Putting extras in films and getting a few parts in films.
And didn't the defendant help you to get parts in films on a few occasions?
Sustained.
I'd like to approach.
Goes to the nature of the relationship between the defendant and this witness.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll overrule myself. Briefly.
Not this. Not this.
Briefly.
Didn't the defendant help you to get acting roles between January and June of 1994?
I never got an acting role through OJ.
Didn't the defendant call to give you a role in Frogman
No,
or bit parts on some of the shows he was working on?
never,
Never?
never.
After June of 1994, do you recall him calling to get you parts on any television shows or movies?
No, the only thing that happened was on a Kushner Lock, there's an audition. I didn't get the role, but I already had an audition set up. He made a call, but I didn't get the role or anything like that.
And when did he make that call for you?
I think it might have been May.
May of 1994?
Mm-hmm. It was
Is that
called
yes?
Outpost. Kushner Lock was the company. I don't know the dates, but I think they would know.
You know how to spell that?
KUSHNER/LOCKE
You mean hyphen, L-O-C-K-E.
hyphen.
And that was for what kind of part?
An acting role. I don't know if it was the lead or not.
In what?
Film.
A feature film?
A feature film.
Called?
Outpost.
And that's the only time you're aware of that he made an effort to get you a part?
Yes.
Now, was it Nicole that was home every day and took care of the children? When you were staying with her on Gretna Green?
Yes.
And during the time that you were staying with her on Gretna Green, were you aware of any problem with the defendant not showing up to see the children when he was supposed to?
Objection beyond scope.
Sustained. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to take an unscheduled recess at this time. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to communicate with you. And do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. I anticipate we'll be in recess for about 30 minutes. All right, Mr. Kalin, you can step down, and please don't leave the courtroom, sir. All right, we'll be in recess 30 minutes. All right, good morning again, sir. You're reminded you're under oath.
Yes.
Ms. Clark, ask your questions, please.
Thank you. Mr. Kalin, you lived on Gretna Green from, did you indicate January of 1993 until December of 1993?
January 93 till about January 94. Kind of the end of late December, January, the move was right about then.
And part of your response, and part of what you did there to defray the cost of rent was to take care of the children? You previously testified to that?
Yes.
And so were you aware of when the children were supposed to be picked up or visited by the defendant?
I wasn't always aware of the time frames. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Did it happen that you were advised that the defendant was supposed to come and pick up the children for visitation and failed to show up?
Once, I know. I don't know how many times, but I know at least once.
At least once when he failed to appear to pick up the children when he should have?
For a weekend. That's... I don't know the other times.
Are you aware of occasions when he was supposed to come by to visit with the children during the week and failed to show up?
Maybe once on that too. I didn't know like the schedule of when in town and out of town. But if Nicole had said something to me, that's when I'd be aware. So she might have said it once or twice to me. Because they had activities all the time of karate, and they always were doing something active. And I didn't know the pickup schedule. If she asked me to pick them up somewhere, I'd go. So I don't know if it was because if OJ was supposed to pick up or me, but I was there.
So there were occasions when she would tell you to go and pick up the children, and you didn't know if it was originally supposed to be OJ to do it or not?
Yeah, or for me just to do it.
But on at least two occasions you know of, he was supposed to be the one to have them, once for a weekend and once during the week, and he didn't show up.
Well, yeah. Yes.
Do you know of any occasions when he was supposed to come and take them to dinner during the week and failed to show up?
I don't know. I mean, it could have happened, but I don't know if it was like she had plans or something. I don't remember that.
Do you recall Nicole complaining to you that he failed to pick up the children when he was supposed to?
Once, yes.
And when was that?
During my stay on Gretna Green.
Do you recall when during your stay on Gretna Green?
The exact month, no. It could have been about 6 months into staying there. Like on June.
You only recall her talking about that once?
Right now, yes, I can't.
Only once?
I mean, I didn't know the schedule. I really didn't.
No, I'm talking
No.
about how many times she talked to you and complained to you about the fact that he failed to pick up the children when he was supposed to.
Yeah, I wasn't aware if she'd say something about the pickup schedule and all that. She could bring it up like if OJ was supposed to pick him up at school or not. I don't know if it was a complete stay over the night during the week, if he had time during the week. So it could have been, oh, he didn't pick him up at school today or for a dinner, but it wasn't. And if it wasn't that way, then I would have gone and picked them up. But it wasn't.
So do you recall her telling you on more than one occasion that he was supposed to pick them up and failed to do so?
Once, like I said, once to twice, but I don't know the exact date. I didn't know exactly what was going on with, if she would have said something like, oh, OJ didn't pick him up, can you get him? So I'd be aware of that. But I didn't know the reasoning behind it, so okay, I'll get him.
I'm not asking you the reasoning behind.
Okay,
I'm asking
sorry.
you on how many occasions she told you
At
that he
least
was supposed
twice.
to...
At least twice.
At least twice. And was one of those during the weekend, a weekend pickup?
Yes.
Do you recall her complaining to you that he dropped them off sooner than he was supposed to, and she had to change plans as a result?
Yes.
And on how many occasions did he do that?
I remember that once.
And was that early on the weekend?
Yes.
So he brought them back on the weekend before he was supposed to?
Yes.
And was that a day early?
It could have been.
So he brought them back on Saturday instead of Sunday?
It could have been, yes.
And so she had to rearrange her schedule to be home for the children?
Yes.
And on another occasion, you recall that she told you that he failed to pick up the children, he missed one of his weekends?
I don't remember exactly, but I think that happened.
And another occasion, do you remember she told you that he was supposed to come by to take them to dinner or to take them to an activity and failed to do so?
Like I said, once, yes.
And only once?
I mean, once I can definitely remember.
But it could have been more than that.
It could have been.
And you recall her talking about the fact that he failed to show up when he was supposed to on more than one occasion?
Yes.
How many occasions?
At least twice.
Do you recall in May of 1994, approximately, that Justin had a communion that the defendant failed to show up for?
I don't. I know there was some event. I don't know if it was a communion or not. There's some event, and I don't know everything behind that, of what was going on.
But you know he didn't show up?
I think so. I don't know if it was a communion, but I think there was an event in May.
For one of the children?
For one of the children.
And he didn't go?
I believe so.
Did you go to this event yourself?
Me?
You.
No, I didn't go.
How do you know about this event?
I just know there was an event in May happening. I don't know if it was a communion.
And how did you learn about that?
I just kind of remember. I thought it was maybe a graduation at the Sunshine School. I was thinking it was that, not a communion.
And how did you learn about it?
My memory?
I mean, who told you?
Oh. I think it was... I don't know. I thought it was maybe Cora, a friend.
Cora Fishman?
I think so, but I'm not positive if she told me about this event that he missed.
That's all at this time, but I have the page sites and volume site for the court concerning counsel's questioning into this area.
All right, Mr. Shapiro, any questions for Mr. Kalin on this issue?
Are you concerned, Your Honor, with the last areas in 1994, or only the earlier areas in 1993?
Well, I'm concerned with the entire time frame. We're talking about Gretna Green.
Well, 1994 is not Gretna Green.
I understand that. Which is why I said the entire time frame.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Kalin, you're aware the type of work that Mr. Simpson did during the periods of time that you were both living at Gretna Green and at Rockingham, were you not?
Yes.
And you're aware that he had speaking engagements?
Yes.
And many times before very large audiences?
Yes.
Sometimes 5,000 people?
I speak engagement. I don't know how many people, but...
And you're also aware that he makes his money as an actor and doing commercials?
Yes.
And that there would be times when he would be called unexpectedly to either redo some acting or to take place in an acting job or a commercial?
Yes.
But why don't we ask the pertinent question?
I'm doing this as background, Your Honor.
All right.
In June of 1993, do you have any personal knowledge that O.J. Simpson did not appear to pick up his children? as scheduled?
Can you...
Do you have any do you know yourself, without anybody telling you, do you have personal knowledge that he was scheduled to pick up his children and he did not in June of 1993?
Without anybody telling me?
Without anybody telling you?
No. I don't have any knowledge of that.
Do you have any personal knowledge on the one day during the week you were talking about that O.J. Simpson was supposed to pick up his children and didn't? Do you have any personal knowledge of that?
No.
These are things that were told to you by Nicole.
Yes.
Your Honor, we would say that would be hearsay and would not be admissible on those grounds alone, so I don't see any need to go further.
Let me ask two other questions. Mr. Kalin, with regards to these two incidents that it's your belief that the defendant failed to pick up his children, were you aware of any of the surrounding circumstances or any explanation as to why Mr. Simpson didn't pick up the kids?
Well, I knew from Nicole. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
She would tell me, she would say, O.J. was supposed to have the kids, or that O.J. was from Nicole, that I didn't know his schedule, but she would tell me. She would say, oh, he's supposed to take them to dinner, like that, or this was the weekend,
All right.
and those incidents, but
Did
it
you
never
ever-
was.
Did
sorry.
you ever learn of any explanation as to what detained or why Mr. Simpson did not fulfill those obligations?
I didn't, although I believe one of them was from acting.
All right. Any other comment from either counsel?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Clark?
Yes. Are you aware whether one of those occasions was because he had a golf game with his golfing buddies?
I'm not aware of that, but it could have been said by Nicole. I think she had mentioned that something. I think it might have been golf.
And Your Honor, I'd like to be heard outside the presence of this witness concerning the relevance and the nature of his testimony. I'd like to cite the court to the specific areas. Because I
No,
think
I understand the areas. The issue is the competency of the witness and 352 issues.
I'd like to address this outside the witness presence.
All right, at the sidebar.
Should I go?
right, let's have the jurors. Ms. Clark, you may continue.
When you were living on Gretna Green with Nicole and her children, the defendant was not living there, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you saw him interact with the children on the occasions when you saw him at Gretna Green?
Yes.
On how many occasions when you were living with her on Gretna Green did you see the defendant play with the children?
Overruled.
At the actual Gretna Green, about 6 or 7 times.
And that was in the course of a year?
In the house.
And
Yes.
that was in the course of
Oh,
a year?
yes, it is.
And where else did you see him with the children, along with the children?
Well, I wouldn't be around if he had the children, so I wouldn't know.
So the only times you saw him with the children was when he came to visit them at Gretna Green, is that correct?
Yes.
Overruled.
Yes.
And where were you when he visited with the children on Gretna Green, physically?
Hanging out in the house or in the guest house.
In the guest house. And where would he be with the children on those occasions?
In the house.
So how many occasions did it occur, on how many times did it occur, that he came to visit the children, he was in the house with them, and you were back in the guest house?
Can you say the question again, please?
You said you saw him at Gretna Green over the course of a year 6 or 7 times, is that correct?
Yes.
Of those 6 or 7 times, how many of them involved the defendant being in the house, the main house with the children, while you were back in the guest house?
Overruled.
All of them.
All of them. So for what period of time did you actually observe the defendant with the children? An hour, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Objection, Judge.
Overruled.
An hour.
Would you observe him with the children for an hour on each of those 6 or 7 occasions?
No.
How long did you observe the defendant? What's the longest? Strike that. Was an hour the longest time you ever observed the defendant in the company of the children?
You mean like a straight hour?
Yes.
Sitting? Yes.
On other occasions, would you observe the defendant with the children for maybe 5 minutes?
Yes.
How many of those 6 or 7 occasions did you actually observe the defendant interact with the children for an hour?
Probably twice.
Over the course of the year you spent at Gretna Green, then, you observed the defendant on 2 occasions with the children for 1 hour. Is that correct?
Yes.
And on the other 4 or 5 occasions, you observed the defendant with the children for what, 5, 10 minutes?
Overruled.
It'd be off and on for about 15 to 20, kind of in the, I could see through my place into the house. But I mean, I could see, I wasn't interacting, so I don't know if I'm just answering your question.
What I mean is you observed the defendant in the presence of the children and how he interacted with them for an unbroken period of time.
About 10 to 15 minutes.
So on 4 to 5 occasions, you observed the defendant with the children at Gretna Green for 10 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, about. Yes.
And on 2 occasions, 1 or 2 occasions, you observed him with the children for an hour?
Yes.
So you observed the defendant over a period of a year, spending time with his children for 3 to 4 hours,
Yes.
total?
My observation.
Yes.
Yes.
And on that, you base your opinion that the defendant was a loving father?
That's not what I base it on, no.
That's what you observed him for a period of 3 to 4 hours over the course of 1 year. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
That's the personal knowledge that you have of the defendant's relationship with his children. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so when you offered your opinion to this jury of the nature of his relationship with his children, that was the extent of your personal knowledge on which you base that opinion. Is that correct?
Yes.
When you went to live at Rockingham, You were no longer living with the children. Is that correct?
Correct.
And on occasion, the children would come to visit at Rockingham?
Yes.
And when they did, would you take care of them often?
Not often. If they were there, I'd hang out with them, yes.
And on how many occasions when you were at Rockingham for that 6-month period did you see the children in the company of the defendant?
Four or five times.
And for how long a period of time on each of those occasions did you see them in the company of the defendant?
Of those 4 or 5 times in the company of, will he be with them? You want minutes, you mean?
Yes.
Well, about 15 minutes when I was there.
Okay. 15 minutes on each of those 4 or 5 occasions while you stayed at Rockingham, during which you saw the defendant with his children.
Right, if I didn't go off somewhere. But, yes.
So all told, you saw the defendant with his children for over a 6-month period, for the period of 1 hour with his children.
No, it's more.
4 to 5 occasions, 15 minutes each.
Oh, but I'm thinking, but I mentioned we went to like an event together, and that was, everybody, they were together but spread out. So, but that was like an event that lasted like 4 hours.
Right,
So
but
that's why I don't understand. Because
I'm asking you for the times when you saw the defendant playing and interacting with his children,
Okay,
right?
right.
You got that? The event that you're talking about that they all went to for a period of 4 hours, the defendant was off doing things and meeting people, wasn't he?
Yes,
And the children, you were watching them for him, weren't you?
yes,
All right, then that would not be an occasion when the defendant's interacting with his children, wouldn't you say?
well, yes, and then interacting, and then going off and doing things. So, yes,
It was brief, sporadic moments he'd be with the children, and then he'd go off and do what he had to do.
yes,
And you were watching them for him, weren't
Yes.
you? So over a 6-month period, would you say that it would be fair to estimate that you actually saw the defendant interacting with his children for a sum total of an hour and a half?
yes,
So you saw the defendant interacting with his children over the period of a year for 2 to 3 hours in 1993, is that correct?
yes,
And you saw the defendant interacting with his children over the period of 6 months on Rockingham for a sum total of an hour and a half, is that correct?
yes,
And that is the personal knowledge on which you base your opinion of his nature of his relationship with his children, is that right?
yes,
Now, you testified earlier that the defendant didn't like the idea of you living on Bundy with Nicole Brown, is that right?
Sustained, rephrase the question.
Well, when Nicole decided to move to Bundy, didn't she ask you to move into the extra bedroom downstairs?
on Monday, yes,
And the agreement, was that going to be the same as before, $500 a month for the rent?
yes,
And that would have been for a bedroom and a bathroom, is that right?
yes,
Did that location have a swimming pool?
no,
Now, what did the defendant have to say about you going over to live with her at Bundy?
Sustained. Sustained.
Was the... Asked and answered on cross is not an objection.
No, we've been over this. He indicated he didn't feel comfortable with them
It's-
being on the same roof.
Foundational to another area.
All right, well, let's leap to the other area then.
The defendant was... The defendant was concerned with the way it would appear if you were living on Bundy with Nicole, isn't that right?
yes,
He was concerned with how it would look for another man to be living with his wife, with his ex-wife, is that right?
Is this foundational for something in addition to this?
Yes.
All right. Overruled at this point.
yes,
So his concern was primarily for his image, isn't that right?
Sustained.
Do you know?
Sustained.
All right, when you appeared at the Gretna Green location on October 25th, 1993, you saw the defendant's Bronco out front with the flashers on, parked in the middle of the street. You went to the back of the area. You saw him yelling. How loud was that?
Oh,
Loud.
Were you able to hear him yelling from the street? From the street?
Not when I was coming up. No, I heard it right when I got to the back area.
Okay. Were you afraid?
Was I afraid for...
Were you afraid?
Yes.
Did you hear what Nicole was saying on the telephone?
No.
Did Nicole tell you that she was afraid of the defendant?
Objection, Your Honor.
sustained.
While you're living on Gretna Green, strike that. Cato the Akita, Nicole's dog.
Yes.
Now, was that dog comfortable around?
Overruled.
Cato the dog. That dog was living with Nicole on Gretna Green, is that right?
Yes.
And was that dog comfortable around the defendant?
As far as I could see, yes.
Did he ever bark when the defendant came around?
Cato barked. It was he was a puppy at first, so he barked a lot, and then he'd bark. But he was, when everybody's together, he wasn't barking.
Okay. Did he bark at the defendant? Did he ever act like he was afraid of the defendant?
No.
Sustained.
When the defendant would come to the Gretna Green location, would he play with Cato, the dog?
Petting in that, I don't know, what do you consider playing?
Yeah,
I mean,
petting. Did he pet the dog?
Yeah, he pet the dog, yes.
Did the dog bark at him when he petted him?
No, I don't remember that. He barked.
All right, Mr. Kalin, you told Mr. Shapiro that the defendant's demeanor on June the 12th was the same as always. Do you recall saying that?
At different points of that day, I said that he was tired at one point, and in the afternoon he was conversational. So yes, I said that.
Okay. And so was he always upset? Was that common for him, Mr. Kalin?
Objection.
Grounds.
Leading or suggestive.
Sustained.
You remember testifying earlier that Mr. Simpson was upset during that day?
About a statement that was made, a little bit upset, yes.
And the statement that was made that you're referring to?
There was a statement about taking Sydney, that Nicole took Sydney when OJ was going to talk to her after the recital.
Do you recall testifying that he was upset at that point?
Objection made as to when the testimony was, Your Honor, and we testified to those things.
Overruled.
I think it's confusing.
Overruled.
If you don't, can you show me again? I think that's right with that page. I think where I said.
Is it your testimony now that you I'm going to.
But
Let me.
counsel gets to conduct their own examination.
Mr. Kalin.
Yes.
Is it your testimony right now that you recall testifying previously that the defendant was upset when he spoke of Sydney, of trying to see Sydney at the recital?
Yes.
Okay, now let me direct your attention to page 20132 of the transcript. is cross-examination by Mr. Shapiro. I'm going to show it to you. Question by Mr. Shapiro. Did you see anything unusual in his feelings because he couldn't spend as much time with his daughter that he would have liked? No, he just said it. It wasn't unusual. Was he angry? No, not when he said that. Was he agitated? No. You recall giving that testimony?
Yes.
And yet you just testified that the defendant was upset when he said that.
Overruled.
What I have trouble with is the upset, the word of what the range is of upset and angry. But yeah, there was like upsetness in the voice.
Are you confused about the meaning of the word upset, Mr. Kalin? Is that the problem?
No, I know what you mean.
Okay. You testified for Mr. Shapiro that he was not angry or agitated when he spoke of Sydney and the recital. And now you've just told us that he was upset when he
Yes.
spoke of Sydney and the recital.
Yes.
Sustained. Ask a question.
Can you explain to us then, how do you want to leave it, Mr. Kalin? Was the defendant upset when he spoke of trying to see Sydney at the recital?
There was some upsetness, yes.
Did that upsetness increase at some point during his conversation with you after the recital?
No.
Never increased?
The upsetness after recital, talking about it? No.
Was there any other remark he made about the events of the recital in which he seemed more agitated or upset than when he spoke about trying to see Sydney?
About the dresses?
Yes.
Yes, he said that about the wearing dresses when they're grandmothers.
Yes.
Yes. There was upsetness, but it was more upset about the statement of Sydney. But both upset, but more with the Sydney not being able to see her.
Is that the way you want to leave it, Mr. Kalin? Is that right? He was more upset talking about Sydney than he was talking about Nicole? Is that your testimony?
That, yes.
Directing counsel's attention to page 20154 of the same volume. Question. Can you describe his demeanor?
I believe
I'm
21.
sorry, line 14?
14.
20154. Answer, your question, Mr. Kalin, was about asking about Sydney? Question, yes. Answer, she was great. That, yeah, she was great, and Sydney was wonderful. At the question was by the court, what was his demeanor? What was his demeanor? Fine. It was, give me like very happy, not sad, just, you recall giving those answers?
Yes.
And that was with regard to his conversation with you about Sydney at the recital?
That she was great, yes.
Yes. And Mr. Shapiro then asked you, do you recall what you said to the grand jury in response to Ms. Clark's questions? Answer, relaxed, yes. So he was relaxed and nonchalant. Question, so the word you used when Ms. Clark asked you, did he seem to be agitated, upset, or nervous? Question on page 20156. Can you tell what his demeanor was like when he was discussing Sydney's performance? It was nonchalant. It was relaxed. That was your testimony as you gave it to Mr. Shapiro and as you gave it at the grand jury. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And now you're testifying today, sir, that he was upset when he talked about Sydney.
At the time, that's what I remember.
But you didn't remember that back on June 20th of 1994. Is that right?
Yes.
And now you remember that?
Yes.
And what about during the time that he made the remark about Nicole wearing tight dresses? Was he upset when he said that?
more upset with the Sydney statement, but maybe just a bit with that. With
Just
the,
a bit?
just-
I'm sorry?
Yes. If you can show me.
I'm sorry.
No, he asked.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So your testimony now is that he was upset about the Sydney incident, but just a bit upset about Nicole. Her tight dresses, is that right? Is that what you're
Yes,
testifying?
that's-
No, I'm
yes.
asking you right now.
Yes.
Directing the court to the counsel to page 2001 and volume 112.
2000. This is the grand jury?
Nope. This is your testimony in this
Okay.
trial, Mr. Kalin.
Okay.
Line 11, my question to you, what was the defendant's physical demeanor, his physical body movements when he talked to you about Nicole wearing tight dresses? Your answer, oh, that he was upset. He made a point to say the tight dresses that I mentioned before. Question, did you see him clench his fists or his teeth? Answer, I didn't see like that, clenching his fists or his teeth. He was upset. And it was like, oh, those wearing those tight outfits, when I mentioned, what are they going to do when they're grandmas? You recall giving that testimony, sir?
Yes.
You didn't say there that he was a little bit upset, did you?
No.
You changing your testimony now, Mr. Kalin?
No.
Was he upset or wasn't he, when he talked about Nicole and her tight dresses?
No, not real upset. It,
I'm going to ask leave of the court to take this witness as a hostile witness.
I think that's something you need to do at sidebar. Or with court reporter, please. Rules of evidence that regard how a witness can be questioned by either of the parties. And the rules in California allow for the court during the course of the trial to change how one party questions the witness. You are to disregard, however, Ms. Clark's comment to the court that Mr. Kalin is a, quote, hostile witness. Disregard that comment by her. Ms. Clark.
All right, now you previously testified that the defendant was upset when he spoke about Nicole wearing the tight dresses at the recital.
yes.
And is it still your testimony, sir, that he was upset when he was discussing that topic?
Yeah, I mean, I can do the voice. I'm kind of what it was like.
You think you could make your voice sound like his?
No.
Thank you. Now, is it your testimony today that he was more upset about Sydney than he was about Nicole wearing the tight dresses?
Yes.
But that was not your testimony before, was it, Mr. Kalin?
No.
Earlier, you testified that he was relaxed and nonchalant when he spoke about Sydney at the recital. Isn't that true?
That's what I remember, yes.
And isn't it also true that you testified previously during this trial that he was more upset about Nicole wearing the tight dresses than he was about not being able to see Sydney? Isn't that true?
Yes.
And now you're changing that testimony. Is that what you're doing, sir?
Yes.
Now, it was on the date of June the 12th that he told you more than once that he was upset with Nicole, he was through with Nicole, is that right?
Yes.
And when was the first time that he told you about that?
Yeah, it was afternoon.
And was that about 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yes.
And when he told you about that, was he upset?
No.
He was not upset.
He was saying it was over.
And what was it that caused him to bring up that subject, that he was through with Nicole?
It just came up.
You don't remember how?
I don't know if there was a phone call or what. It just came up. I was just reading the paper and it came up.
Isn't it true, Mr. Kalin, that Mr. Simpson told you he'd had a conversation with Nicole on his cell phone while he was at the Riviera Country Club, in which he had had an argument with her?
No.
He didn't tell you about that?
No, he didn't.
Mr. Simpson did not tell you that...
With the court reporter. Thank you, counsel. Ms. Clark.
All right, my last question to you, Mr. Kalin. Isn't it true that before the defendant told you, made that remark to you, that he and Nicole were through around 3 o'clock in the afternoon of June the 12th, that he told you he'd had a conversation with Nicole while he was at the Riviera Country Club on his cell phone?
No, he did not tell me that.
He did not tell you about any conversations he had had with Nicole during that day before 3 o'clock?
He did not, no.
After the remark he made to you about he and Nicole being through at about 3 o'clock on June the 12th, did the subject of he and Nicole being through come up again?
After 3 o'clock?
Yes.
Yes.
And was that before or after the recital?
After.
And after the recital, he remarked to you that he and Nicole were through?
Yes.
Was that before or after he told you about, he was upset about her tight dresses?
It was before or after. It was in the same frame. I don't know if it was before or after that line.
Okay, so he was still upset when he told you he and Nicole were through, when he was speaking to you after the recital?
After the recital, yes.
And then he told you a third time during that conversation that he and Nicole were through, didn't he?
I don't know if it came up there at that point.
Well, did he explain to you why he was upset about her tight dresses if he was through with her?
He didn't explain why. He was commenting on the dress.
He had a girlfriend at that time, didn't he?
Yes.
And he told you he was through with her, didn't he?
No.
No, through with Nicole, didn't he?
Oh, yes.
But he was upset, and he told you he acted upset when he talked about Nicole wearing tight dresses, didn't he?
Yes.
Did you ask him to explain why, if he had a girlfriend and he was through with Nicole, he was still upset about her tight dresses?
No.
Did he explain, and he also told you, he also said something about her not being able to wear those tight dresses when she got older. Remember that?
Yes.
And he was still upset when he said that, wasn't he?
Yes.
And did he explain why he was thinking or upset about whether she could still wear those tight dresses in her old age if he was through with her?
Say it again.
Did he tell you why, explain to you why he was upset about her and wearing tight dresses when she got older if he was through with her?
No.
Did you ask him?
No.
Now, isn't it true that it was in mid-May or late May of 1994 that the defendant told you he and Nicole were through for good? That it was finally over with them?
Yeah, it happened around May that they were... I can't give like the exact date. They were on and off, and it was right around there. I can't give the exact date.
Okay. But it was around the end of May of 1994 that the defendant told you, that's it, we're done.
Yes.
It's over. Is that right?
Yes, it was in May that it was over.
But then he remarked to you again 3 times on June the 12th that he and Nicole were through. Isn't that right?
Sustained. Sustained.
You recall that the small black knapsack you were talking about that you saw on the driveway at Rockingham for the first time when you came back from the garage on your second trip back to the garage, right?
Yes.
Did you see that small black knapsack when you left with the defendant to go to McDonald's?
I did not see it, no.
And you didn't see it when you came back from McDonald's either, did you?
I did not.
Now, you didn't notice the black knapsack the first time you walked back to the garage before you let the limo driver in, is that right?
I'm pretty sure I didn't notice it.
But it could have been there without you noticing it. Is that a fair statement?
It's fair.
The first time you noticed the knapsack was when you came back from the garage. The second time you went to check for the noises,
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
And that was about 11 o'clock, is that right?
Correct.
And when you noticed that knapsack, how far was the defendant from it?
20 feet?
I'm sorry?
About 20 feet.
20 feet? Where was the defendant when you saw that knapsack?
By the doorway?
The
By
front door?
Where the golf clubs would have been.
He was in the entryway of his house?
Not in the house, just in that sidewalk area. That's what I remember, I think.
And after the defendant told you that he'd go and get the knapsack, you never saw it again, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now that knapsack, was it big enough to hold a knife?
Sustained.
Was that knapsack big enough to hold bloody clothing and bloody shoes?
Sustained. Sustained. No. He's already described the dimensions of the bag.
Now you indicated earlier it was dark in the front lawn area, is that correct?
Correct.
And you indicated also that there was a street light, but it did not illuminate the front lawn area, is that correct?
Correct.
And isn't it also true, Mr. Kalin, that there are no lights that directly light the front lawn area?
I'm sorry.
Isn't it true that there are no lights that directly light the front lawn area?
Correct.
Mr. Kalin, you spent time with the defendant on June the 12th, as you've indicated to us earlier, isn't that right?
Yes.
And you indicated that you saw no injury to his hand any time that night, isn't that correct?
That is correct.
And did you notice any injury to his hand on June the 11th, on Saturday?
No.
Did you see him on June the 11th, Saturday?
Yes, I think so. Yes. Yes, it was that. That was the night of a party of a ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I saw him Saturday.
You saw him.
Yes.
So there was no injury to his hand on Saturday either, was there?
Not that I saw.
I have a photograph that has been marked as defendant's 1003. Have you ever seen this photograph, Mr. Kalin?
I thought I saw it on television once.
Okay. Is that the photograph of the defendant on the date of June the 12th, 1994, at the recital for his daughter Sydney?
Yes.
I want you to examine the photograph. We're going to move in closer on his left hand. Not that close. See any cut or injury on that left hand, sir?
No.
On the middle finger? See any
no.
cut?
No, I do not.
And he got back from that recital to Rockingham at what time?
I believe about 6:37.
6:30 or 7?
Yes. Well, that's when I saw him. I don't know what time he got back. I didn't see him drive up.
Now, when you saw the defendant outside by the limo at about 11 p.m. on the night of June the 12th, you told him, you said earlier, you told him about the noises that you'd heard, the bangs on your wall, your picture moving, right?
Yes, I did.
And you also told him that you were afraid somebody might be out there on the south pathway when you learned there had been no earthquake. Isn't that right?
That is...
This is foundational.
Overruled. Proceed.
Yes,
Briefly.
that is correct.
And when you told him you were afraid someone was out there because there had been no earthquake, did he tell you to call the police?
No.
Did he tell you to call West Tech?
No.
When he called you later from the airport at about 11:40, he asked you to set the alarm on the house?
Yes.
Did he tell you to call the police?
No.
Did he tell you to call West Tech?
No.
Did he tell you to do anything to investigate the source of those bangs on your wall?
No.
Now, you spoke to the police on the morning of June the 13th, correct?
Correct.
And at the time you spoke to them, you indicated to us that you did not know that a bloody glove had been found on the south pathway at Rockingham outside your wall.
Correct.
And you did not know at that time that you were going to be called to testify in a case in which Mr. Simpson was a defendant, correct?
Correct.
Now, on June the 13th, then, after you... Strike that. When you spoke to the police, you told them about the bangs on your wall?
I did.
And you told them you heard those bangs at about 10:45?
Yes.
And did you also tell them that you had gone out twice to investigate the source of those noises?
Yes.
And this was after you'd already spoken to Detective Furman and Detective Van Adder, is that right?
Yes.
This was at the police station when they took a formal report, correct?
Correct.
And did you also tell them about seeing the limousine driver at about 11 o'clock?
Yes.
You told them all about the events of that night as you've told us, is that correct?
That is correct.
They didn't ask you about the defendant's relationship with Nicole prior to June the 12th, is that correct?
Correct.
They didn't ask you about any incidents of domestic violence between the defendant and Nicole, did they?
Correct.
And then later on that day, you went back to Grant Kramer's house, correct?
Correct.
And that was after the police had told you not to go back to the defendant's house on Rockingham, isn't that true?
Overruled.
Correct.
And when you were at Grant Kramer's house, within a few minutes after your arrival, you got a phone call from the defendant and his attorney, Mr. Weitzman, isn't that correct?
Overruled.
I got a phone call. I don't know if it was a few minutes, but yes, I got a phone call.
Very shortly after you arrived at Mr. Kramer's house, isn't that correct?
Correct.
And after you got, after that phone call, you received another phone call from Mr. Weitzman and the defendant, isn't that correct?
I believe so.
And when you received those phone calls, you made Grant Kramer leave the room, didn't you?
I don't know. I was in a different room and he wasn't around. I don't think I asked him, but I was alone. He wasn't... he was in a different area.
You didn't tell him to leave you alone while you spoke to them?
I don't believe so, no.
You don't believe so?
I could have, but I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I
You
do
could
not.
have.
I could have, but I don't remember.
And in your conversation with Mr. Weitzman and the defendant, did Mr. Weitzman ask you what had happened at the police station?
Haven't we gone over this once before?
Not this part, Your Honor. This is different. And two questions that are, it's different than I've gone into. It is.
Proceed.
I think so, yes.
Mr. Weitzman asked you what you had told the police, didn't he?
I think so.
And then he said, and then you said to him, all I can do is tell the truth. Isn't that right?
I said that. Yes, they both did, and I said that, though.
And that's when, and after you told him what you'd told the police, that's when he said, well, all you can do is tell the truth. Isn't that right?
I believe so.
And at that point in time when you spoke to the police, you did not know that you were incriminating the defendant with your statements, did you?
Sustained. Sustained. No.
All right, you indicated that when you reviewed the police report that had been written of your statement given on June the 13th, that you made some corrections to it.
Yes, I did.
And did you see the corrections in the report, a subsequent report that they filed for you?
Yeah, I saw. I don't remember, but I remember they had the wrong address, I think.
Your Honor, I have here discovery pages 347, 348, 349, and 707 containing the statements to the police of Brian Kalin made on June the 13th and on June the 17th. I'd ask that they be collectively marked as People's
144?
144?
144.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Your Honor. Well, we can mark this thing, next one. The printout of the blow-up of the photograph that was defendant's 1103.
All right, let's be People's 145.
1003.
People's 145.
People's 145, thank you. So I'm going to show you the police reports that I've just marked as People's 144, ask you to review them, and tell us if these are the statements you gave to the police, both the original report and the corrections that you requested they make.
to read this too. This.
Second page as well. Read it.
These are different things.
Ms. Clark, your witness has a question as to the last page.
Is that I'm supposed to read that?
No, it's okay. Have you read all of these, Mr. Kalin?
Yes, it did.
All right. And are these an accurate reflection of all of your statements to the police made on June the 13th and June the 17th?
Yep, pretty much yes.
Okay. And the report on June the 17th, does that contain the corrections that you wanted them to put down to your June 13th report?
But the address change, yes. I think so. And I put the bag in the car, not the limo driver.
Yes?
Yes.
And that it was several moments later after you waved at the limo driver when you approached the gate and spoke to the driver?
Yes.
Are those the
Yes.
corrections you requested they make?
Yes.
So do these reports accurately contain the statement you gave to the police on June the 13th and June the 17th?
Yes.
All right, you indicated on cross-examination, sir, that you had an interview with Mr. Shapiro a few weeks ago. You recall that?
Yes, I did.
Was it tape recorded?
I don't believe so, no.
Were any notes taken?
He had a book open. I don't know if he took notes. I don't know. I don't think so.
Was any report prepared?
No.
Did he tell you what he was going to ask you in court here?
A general outline, sort of.
Ask you the questions that he wound up asking here in court?
It's just some.
Did you have any meetings with Mr. Shapiro last week, Wednesday night?
Last week, Wednesday night? No.
Thursday night?
No.
You acquainted with someone by the name of Buddy Monash?
Yes.
Did you have a meeting with Mr. Monash, sir? Last week?
No.
How about the week before?
No.
How about over this weekend? Did you speak to Mr. Shapiro and Mr. Monash over this weekend?
No.
Who is Mr. Monash?
Buddy Monash. I'm with Michael Plotkin Entertainment, who's here, and it's his partner.
And did your, so Buddy Monash, is he one of your lawyers?
No, Michael is. He's at the firm, but Michael Plotkin is my entertainment lawyer.
Okay.
He's here.
And he's here, right?
Yes.
And so Buddy Monash works with Michael Plotkin, who is your lawyer, is that correct?
Yeah, they have a firm together. I don't know if they work the same things together.
Has Michael Plotkin met with Mr. Shapiro?
I don't believe so.
Has Buddy Monash met with Mr. Shapiro?
Not that I'm aware of.
When you saw the defendant on Monday evening at Rockingham, strike that. When you were at Grant Kramer's house, you got at least 2 phone calls from the defendant and his lawyer, Mr. Weitzman. Is that right?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
I believe so, yes.
And the defendant asked you to go over to Rockingham for a meeting. Isn't that correct?
Objection. Been over this before also.
Overruled.
I do not remember that, to go over to the house for a meeting.
You don't remember that?
I don't.
Was it Mr. Weitzman that asked you to go over and have a meeting at Rockingham on June the 13th?
It could,
Overruled.
it could have been, yes.
Someone on the telephone who called you from the Rockingham location on June the 13th while you were at Grant Kramer's place asked you to go over to Rockingham for a meeting that day, didn't they?
I can't be 100% positive. I can't. I mean, I don't remember.
You went over to Rockingham, didn't you?
At some point, yes.
And I pointed out a film clip to you of the shirt you were wearing? Is that right?
Yes.
And you indicated that you didn't change your clothes for 3 days, didn't you, sir?
No.
You indicated you wore that same shirt for 2 days, 2 or 3 days?
It could have been, yeah, I could have been, yes, 2 days, I think I did.
Okay. So you went back to Rockingham and you wore the same shirt for 2 days. Is that right? What you just said, sir.
Yeah, I did. I don't know if I changed it and put it back on, but yes, I had it on for 2 days.
Who asked you to go back to Rockingham for a meeting on June the 13th?
I don't think I ever met Mr. Weitzman.
Who
Uh,
asked you to go back to Rockingham on June the 13th?
It could have been, I don't know. It could have been Kathy Randa, but I don't remember.
Could have been Kathy? Could it have been the defendant?
It could have,
Could it have been Mr. Weitzman?
possible.
Could it have been all three?
Yes,
When you went back to Rockingham on June the 13th and you saw the defendant, was he crying?
no,
Did he speak to you about Nicole at all?
no.
Isn't it true, sir, that the only conversation you had with the defendant back at Rockingham had to do with whether or not you could say he was at home that night between 9:35 and 11 p.m.?
So ruled.
Somewhat, yes.
And when he said that you could say, when the defendant said you could say he was at home on the night of June the 12th, and you said you couldn't say that, that's because it's true, isn't it? You couldn't say that he was home between 9:35 and 11 o'clock.
Sustained.
Is it true that you could not say the defendant was at home between 9:35 and 11 o'clock?
That's true.
You left his presence at 9:35, isn't that right?
Yes,
And you didn't see him again, and you were not in his presence again until 11 p.m., isn't that right?
that's right.
And can you tell this jury where the defendant was between 9:35 and 11 p.m., sir?
No, I cannot.
Can you tell this jury that the defendant was not at 875 South Bundy between 9:35 and 11 p.m.?
Sustained.
I have nothing further.
Shapiro? Hold on just a second. Court reporter needs to change paper.
Ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, Mr. Kalin.
Good afternoon.
Has the questions that have just been put to you made you nervous at all?
Yes.
Are you afraid of Miss Clark?
I'm not afraid of her, no.
Does she scare you?
No, I
Does she
mean,
make you uncomfortable?
well, certain questions, yes.
Why is that?
Because I'm trying to do my best.
And do you think
All right.
she's given you the opportunity to do your best and to be fair?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Does she intimidate you at all?
Yes.
And how's that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
By her job.
Are you here to tell the truth?
Yes.
Are you doing your best to tell the truth?
Yes.
would you say that in trying to describe certain events that sometimes just using words isn't enough?
Yes.
For example, when Ms. Clark was trying to get you to say that,
Counsel, why don't you rephrase that question?
when Ms. Clark was asking you questions regarding whether or not O.J. Simpson was upset on June the 12th when you were talking to him after the recital, would you describe what you would mean when you were saying somebody is upset?
My description of what upset is?
Yes. And what you were viewing O.J. Simpson's behavior on that day, so the jury can understand how you were feeling and how he was feeling and what this conversation was really about.
Okay. Okay, so start with the Sydney?
Yes.
Nicole didn't let me see Sydney. I want to see my daughter. I want to see her. And, oh, boy. Kind of like, I want to see my daughter. And then they're wearing these tight outfits that these, I don't know, Cato, I don't know how they can wear these tight outfits. If they're going to be grandmas one day, I mean, can they wear those?
Was that the tone of voice?
Actor, sorry. The, more of a, no, it was sort of, they can't be wearing those tight outfits, but it was a degree of upset. It's such a hard thing to, being upset. It wasn't throwing things. It wasn't, she's wearing that mini skirt. It wasn't like that. It's a tough question. It's, what are they going to do when they're going to be grandmas? They can't wear mini skirts.
What was your reaction?
I listened. Kind of like that.
You didn't find the tone threatening, did you?
No.
I mean, you've said this in kind of a matter-of-fact way, but with a little emotion. Is that the way you would describe O.J. Simpson?
Yes, there was a little emotion. There was some emotion in the voice.
What about body language? Did you see any hostility? Did you see any pent-up anger come through?
I'm pretty sure he was sitting down, so I didn't.
Now, you knew that from May of 1993 to May of 1994, Nicole was trying to get back into a formal relationship with O.J.
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay is discussed on evidence of false speculation.
Could you give me those dates again? I'm sorry.
From May of 1993, when you were at Gretna Green, to May of 1994, you knew that Nicole was trying to get back together with O.J.
It was, I think it was a team thing. They both were going off and on. I don't think it was one or the other. It was both working together of however it was going to happen. I mean, maybe she was trying to make it work and he was, then it was off and on. I can't.
And you knew that O.J. had committed to Nicole that they would give it a year to try to work out things and see if they could get back together as a family, didn't you?
There was some kind of commitment, yes.
And you knew in early May that O.J. had concluded that it just wasn't going to work. It was unfortunate, but they were both going to have to lead their own lives separately.
Yes, sort of.
And you also knew that Paula Barbieri had come back into his life in May. Is that correct?
Yes. I don't know if it was end of April or May, but yes, they got back together.
And was it your personal feeling that you would have liked to have seen O.J. and Nicole get back together?
Yes.
Why is that?
Objection, Your Honor.
I just wanted them to be happy if they're going to be happy.
Because you really like both people?
Yes.
You really like the kids?
Yes.
And you would really have liked to have seen this family get back together?
Yes.
When O.J. told you that it just wasn't going to work, He had no anger, did he?
No.
He had no hostility?
Overruled.
He had no hostility, did he?
No.
It was just a matter-of-fact thing, Cato, you know? It just didn't work out.
Yes.
But he always told you that he still wanted to have a family and be part of a family life.
What's the objection, counsel? Overruled.
He told you he wanted
Wait a
to.
minute. Wait a minute. I'm going to sustain that objection.
Now, you're a father of a 9-year-old daughter,
10 now.
10-year-old daughter. And do you think you have experience in being a father?
Yes.
Overruled.
And do you think you have an ability to form an opinion as to the types of parents people are?
Objection. The court will just be on the schedule of people, will not, this whole line of questioning will be relevant.
I did. I don't want to get into this too far. You've established that he's a parent. You've asked his opinion regarding the relationship of the children between children and Mr. Simpson.
Do you think you had an ability during the period of time that you knew O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson to form an opinion as to what type of father O.J. Simpson was?
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Of the times I've seen him, yes.
And during this period of time, isn't it true, sir, from May to May of '94, this 1 year, that O.J. Simpson was spending nights at Nicole Brown Simpson's home?
There was times when he was at Bundy.
And there were
over. I don't know the dates, but yeah, there were times.
And there were times when she was at Rockingham.
Yes, there was times
And
there.
when you say that this was on and off, during this period of time, this was on, wasn't it? From '93 to '94.
From 93 to 94?
May of '93 to May of '94, this was a continuing, ongoing relationship between O.J. and Nicole.
I know there was that commitment, and I can't give the exact date, but from May to 93, I know they had a commitment to go like the distance to see if it was going to work, and I can't give the exact date. I just can't. It's very hard to.
That period of time sound approximately correct?
Yes.
You were also aware that during that period of time that O.J.'s business would take him out of town,
Yes.
and that it was part of his job to have to travel.
Yes.
Regarding the conditions at Rockingham on June the 13th, you're aware that the entire grounds are professionally lit at night, are they not?
Yes. It's like the dim lights that are on the bottom, though, so that's why I say it's dark. There's still those lighting, but it's still dark. It's like a dim light.
What about the trees? Don't the trees have lights in them?
I think the tree where the Snow White stuff is, there's that one tree is lit.
Aren't there other trees in the front that are also lit with lights that are both going up into the trees and down?
I know that one is, and the other trees might be to the side of that, to the area of where the Rolls Royce is. I don't remember a bright light there. I just don't.
Regarding Mr. Simpson's luggage, you'd never seen his luggage before, to any great extent, had you?
No.
And certainly you would have no occasion to see it afterwards, would you?
No.
Wasn't your responsibility to pack and unpack his bags?
Never. No.
Wasn't your responsibility to take care of his luggage?
No.
Now, when you moved into Rockingham, did O.J. Simpson instruct you that if Nicole needed any help at all, that you were to do exactly what you were doing in the past with her?
He didn't instruct me that. If she called, I would do something.
Did he tell you that that was okay, that you could do that?
Sustain.
Did he in any way advise you or tell you not to do anything that O.J. had done, that Nicole had asked for in the past?
Sustain.
You're aware that from August to February of 93 to 94 that O.J. had lived in his apartment in New York, working?
He had an apartment in New York, right. August, right.
Foundation, speculation.
Hold.
That he had an apartment there, yes, and football was going on.
And so his business and work took him out of the city
Yes,
and out of the state.
yes.
Was it your feeling that O.J. Simpson was content with his life in May of 1994?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain.
Was he happy with his lifestyle in May of 1994?
Sustain.
Did he seem to have any problems with women in May of 1994?
Same objection, Your Honor.
Sustain.
You told us last week that you did not keep track of O.J.'s coming and goings.
I did not, correct.
So if I was to ask you that on June the 12th at 9:45, did you go into O.J. Simpson's residence to see where he was, what would your answer be?
Objection, Your Honor.
Hold.
If I went into the residence,
Yeah.
I didn't go in. So, no, I wouldn't ask him to go in there.
And that would never be anything you would do at a specific time to go check up on him and see where he was. Isn't that true?
That is true.
And so you don't know whether or not he was in the house, do you?
I don't.
For all you know, the last time you saw him, he was walking towards the house.
Right, he was in the direction.
And you
True.
never saw any evidence of him leaving the house.
No.
So the last time you saw him, it was your state of mind that he probably was in the house.
Yeah.
Objection.
Sustain. Answer stricken.
At 9:50, did you go to check on O.J. Simpson's whereabouts in his house?
No.
At 9:55, did you go check?
No.
At 10 o'clock, did you check?
No.
At 10:15, did you check?
No.
Would you ever during that day check as to where O.J. Simpson was?
No.
Would you ever on any day during the 6 months you lived there check as to where O.J. Simpson was?
No.
And when you saw him the very next day when he came back after the murders of his ex-wife and Ronald Goldman, he sensed some relief that at least he knew that you had been with him that day.
Objection, Your Honor.
Did he not?
Objection.
Sustain.
Did he appear relieved when he was talking to you about being with him the day before?
Objection, speculation.
Sustain.
Isn't it true that when O.J. Simpson said to you, "Thank God I was with you," that he seemed to be relieved?
Objection, the state's testimony.
Sustain. The first question.
How did O.J. Simpson appear to you when he made statements to you the next day at Rockingham?